Welcome to Banana, the professional software similar to Excel. Create and print personalized invoices with Swiss QR code. The video was recorded in English, but you will see the program in your own language. Create your accounting. You can adapt your existing accounting or create a new accounting. For example, start from a predefined template for invoicing. Set basic data. Enter your basic accounting data from the File menu, File and Accounting Properties. Edit the name. Enter the opening and closing date. Select the basic currency. In the Address section, enter the full address of your company. Also enter the IBAN account where you receive payments. Set your logo. If you have a logo that you want to display, enter it from the File menu, Logo Setup command. Add an image, set the size and alignment of the logo in the invoice header. Also define the alignment of the text in the invoice header. You can, for example, place the logo on the left and the text on the right. If you need more information, click on Help to go directly to the online documentation. Set up customer accounts. In the Accounts table, set up the customer ledger. Each customer has its own account number. For each one in the appropriate columns you can indicate the address and other information. In the Language column, enter the language code, so that each customer will have the invoice in his own language. Transactions table. Enter the content of the invoices in the Transactions table. For example, create a simple invoice for the sale of a product. Indicate the date of the recording, the invoice number, the description that will appear on the invoice. In the debit account, insert the customer account. In the credit account, insert the counterpart, such as the sales account. Indicate the amount. In cases where the invoice is subject to VAT, enter also the desired VAT code. You can also insert entries on more than one line in order to have more items in the invoice. Or use also the columns quantity, unit and unit price. Print invoice. Create and print the invoice from Menu Reports, Customers, Print Invoices. Select the invoice or invoices you want to print. Install the invoice layout you prefer. Choose, for example, the layout for the invoice with Swiss QR code and click on Install. In the Options section, select a language and enter the final text. Click on OK to print the invoice using the default settings. You will see the invoice in preview. You can print it and export it as a PDF file. Customize your invoice. Each layout can be customized. Click on Settings and enter the Settings dialog. Click on Help. You will arrive at the documentation page. Here all the different options are explained in detail. You have many possibilities to customize your printing. This video explains only the main ones. The settings are divided into 5 sections. In the Print section you can check the elements to appear on the invoice. Include in the header the address you defined in the basic settings. Alternatively, define manually the texts to be displayed. Decide whether to include the logo in the header. If you have defined more than one logo, you can decide which one to use. Choose whether to include the sender address above the billing address. Compose the billing address in the order you prefer. You have the option to align the address to the left. If you need to adjust the position of the address, you can move it horizontally and also vertically. Define which invoice information to include and which to exclude. Choose which columns to display in the invoice details table. You can also use non-default columns and those added manually to the Transactions table. For each column, define the width, the alignment of headings, and text alignment. Decide whether to use gross amounts with VAT included or net amounts with VAT excluded. In the Text section, define your translations for the various languages. In this way you can define all the texts of the invoice. For example, define the header texts for the columns of the invoice details table. Finally, you can change some invoice styles, such as font type, the size, text colors, and other colors. Preview the invoice. Set the QR. Still in the layout settings, QR code section, define some parameters for printing the QR section. View the Print QR code box to print the QR on the invoice. Select the type of QR reference to use. For an invoice with IBAN and reference number, choose the score type. For an invoice with IBAN without reference number, choose the NON type. For an invoice with QR IBAN, choose type QRR. If you have already inserted the IBAN code in the address section of the basic data, here you don't have to insert anything. Otherwise, you can enter your IBAN code directly here. If instead of the normal IBAN you want to use the QR IBAN code, select the QRR type and enter your QR IBAN code directly here. Decide if you want to insert additional information in the QR. You can do this by using a column in the transactions table. You can also add billing information that is generated automatically. Exclude the customer's billing address and leave an empty box to enter the address by hand. Exclude the invoice amount and leave a blank box to enter the amount by hand. Decide whether to print the QR part on a separate page. Display the QR part in the preview of the invoice. Start for free. Download and install Banana Accounting. You can create the accounting and insert up to 70 transactions. You can also customize the printing of the invoice. All your settings will remain saved. Then, choose the annual subscription that suits your need and enter as many transactions and invoices as you wish.